Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's program. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. If you can, let me know in the comment section. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to be talking about mortgage rates and why more contracts are being canceled. So, hopefully, you can hear me okay. I got my other mic going tonight, the one that gave me trouble a few weeks ago. So, if you can hear me okay in the chat, let me know, and we'll kick things off tonight. In Anybody can let me know. That'd be perfect. I know it's early in the show, people jump on, but we'll go on like everything's good to go. Mortgage rates just hit a 2025 year low, yet 15% of buyers walked away from their contracts in September. So, what's really going on in the marketplace? And tonight we're going to unpack how the Federal Reserve's actions ripple through mortgage rates and why some sellers are getting ghosted even as affordability is improving. And we're going to talk about two articles tonight. The first article is this one here from HousingWire, where it talks about mortgage rates hit a 2025 low point again, which is kicking up activity. Okay. And the second article is from Redfin. And this one is talking about how uh, 15% of home buying contracts were canceled in the month of September. So there's actually, this sounds like bad news, but it's actually good news in a way. So we'll talk about that tonight. Okay. And we're going to get started here on the first article where it talks about mortgage interest rates. Okay. And just to give you some idea um, of where mortgage interest rates are now, is we'll go to Mortgage News Daily, and I'll share this screen with you. And you can see, and this is over the past year, where we were last October, we were right around 7%. Well, now rates are down to 6.13%. So rates have come down significantly. So that's been very good for the market. Now, that's partially due. Now, there's a relationship between when the Fed lowers the federal funds rate, that's not, they don't, it influences mortgage interest rates. There's not a direct relationship. So when the Fed goes in and says, hey, they see inflation or they sense the economy starting to cool. Okay. If the economy starts to cool, then what they're going to do is lower that federal funds rate. And that's um, for short term borrowing. Okay. This influences the bond market. Now, mortgage interest rates, the 30-year fixed rate mortgage is tied to the 10-year treasury yield. So there's an influence there. There's not a direct relationship. Okay. Um, Going back to the article here. Um, and then rates are falling now because markets expect a future rate cut, not because the Fed already lowered rates. So the market anticipates a rate cut. Okay. And what that's doing is that's really peaking activity. And we see that in our local market. If we look at the local market in terms of number of closed sales, let me share that with you. This is Douglas and Sarpy County. Okay. You can, this is the number of closed sales in Douglas and Sarpy County, Nebraska. You can see that the number of sales actually increased 14.1% compared to 2024. Now, when you look at activity over, we'll look at activity over a 5-year period. Okay. If you look at this chart here, you're going to see uh, our activities peaks are not as high as they were back during the pandemic market when we had such a um, high velocity market where we had a large number of sales. So the peak is not as high, but there's still, and you can also see there's an ebb and flow to the marketplace in terms of the number of sales peak in the summertime, then they bottom out in the wintertime. So what you're seeing here is closed sales. Um, they peak in June, and then as fall goes along, it starts to decrease in terms of the number of sales. Hey, we got Clark in the house. Hey, Clark, thanks for coming along and being here. I appreciate that. And Clark, can you hear me okay? Or did I just talk for 8 minutes and not say anything? All right. Okay. Um, I don't hear him saying anything. Yep, we can hear. Okay, good. Okay. I'm like, well, they're not responding. So so anyway, that's the uh, number of sales. Okay. Now, when we look at prices, okay, this is um, the median closed sales price in Douglas and Sarpy County over the past 5 years. And we can see that in the last year, um, prices have gone down slightly. Now, this is month to month. There's going to be month to month variation. Okay. We're going to take and smooth that out and look at the 12-month rolling average. And you can see this smooths out that, uh, uh, the seasonality to it. And you can see where there's a little decrease there, but prices have flattened out. And that's what we wanted as a market. When we had that market of 2021 and 2022, that was not healthy. Okay. When you had 10% year over year growth in the real estate market, that is not a healthy market. Now, prices went up in the Nebraska around 40% over the past 5 years. When you have that kind of growth, we needed interest rates to go up in order to slow things down. Now, what you're starting to see, but here's the thing, it's not crashing, it's just starting, the level of growth is leveling off. Okay. Uh, so we're not having uh, that wild market. Okay. Clark has a question here. Do you see an interest of people buying in Omaha as we head into the winter, especially since they have said we might see an influx of people buying more in the winter than spring this year? Um, in terms of people buy in Omaha all year long, okay, but it's still driven by, um, family composition, folks with, and you'll have people relocating to Offutt, they'll buy in the wintertime, and people relocating, they buy all year long. But we tend to see the number of sales, Clark, bottom out in the wintertime. Okay. And I can show you that there in terms of closed sales. We'll go back to month. And you can see down in the wintertime, like in January of 2025, we had 630 closed sales. In January of 2024, we had 577 closed sales. In January of 2023, we had 526 closed sales, as opposed to in June, we had 1,100 sales. So we tend to have, but here's the other thing too, Clark, and that is and you know this because Clark's in Atlanta. Uh, a properly priced home will sell all year long, and an overpriced home won't sell in any market. So, but we do see a seasonality. Now, what's interesting here is this is closed sales. Okay. But now what we're going to do is we're going to separate it by construction type. Okay. And we're going to take the red line is the existing market, and the green line is the new construction market. And what you can see is the new construction market stays steady all year long. Okay. Builders want to make money all year long. And some of it's going to be in business, but you don't have the peaks and valleys like you do the existing market. And you also see by this chart in terms of there's far more. The new construction market is only a portion of the market. The existing market, there's far more existing homes sell as opposed to um, the 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 existing market. There's far more sales in the existing market versus the new construction market. Okay, and Clark says, "Yep, okay," and Clark says, "Yes, it will. Price it right, and it will sell." And that is so important. But that's in terms of the closed sales by construction type. Now let's look at, since we got this chart up here, let's look at closed prices between the existing market and the new construction market. Okay. And you can see the green is new construction. Okay. And this is month to month. Okay. We're going to go 12-month rolling average to kind of flatten out a little bit of that seasonality there. And you're going to see these new construction now is in green. And you can see where new construction peaked back in 2023. Well, we had lower interest rates. So guess what? That gave people more affordability so they can afford to build a more expensive home. And then as rates increased, what has that done to the new construction market? Prices haven't tanked, or the builders adjust to the market. They won't build as big a home in order to sell more homes. Okay. And then let's see what Clark says here. Do you see more new construction selling? Do you see more new construction selling than resale in Omaha, or is it about 50-50? No, it's um, the number of sales. It's far more existing than new construction. New construction is only a portion of the market. So we see um, far more existing homes sell. But here's the thing: the and some of that is because some of the new construction market doesn't start until you get around uh, 300 or above 300. So there is a market, and it's the market is getting smaller and smaller below 300. Okay. Um, and we can actually separate that out by closed. Let's look at homes for sale. Okay. We're going to go back to, um, we're going to go homes for sale. We're going to take that. Okay. The number of homes for sale. What is our current inventory right now? We have um, 2,414 homes on the total market in Douglas and Sarpy County. Now, if we break that down by construction type, we have 946 new homes available, and we have 1,468 existing homes for sale. Now, it looks like, if you look at this chart, wow, there's a lot of new construction out there. That's a little bit deceptive because guess what? Some of that new construction is at lot stage or at framing stage or at foundation stage. That's not 946 um, newly constructed vacant homes, because every time if a home is sitting there vacant for a builder, that's costing that builder money. So a lot of times what'll happen, a builder won't even build a home until the buyer goes under contract. Okay. So the builder will have a model home out there, and the buyer will walk through the model, and they jazz up the model. The model looks great. And they say, wow, we want to buy this. Well, then what happens? Then the builder puts them under contract. Then the builder starts the new construction process, and then that home will go on the MLS. And in that way, the builder can use that as a way of marketing that property as well. So hopefully that makes some sense. Oh, okay. And we got MH08 in the house today. All right. I, I have done that myself, where you have to watch it at twice the speed in order to catch up. That's awesome. Yeah. Thanks for stopping by, MH08. Thank you. All right. Um, Now, Clark, I got a question for you. In the Atlanta market, since you guys are a warmer climate, do you see as much seasonality as we do in a more, um, uh, with a more of a moderate market, like a temperate market like we have? Or I don't know if that's the right terminology in terms of climate. Do you have as much seasonality, or is in a warmer climate, is there not as much seasonality? That's my question there. I'm not from Atlanta, and I would think you don't get that much snow in Atlanta, of course. So it probably is. Let's see what MH08 says. Trouble with buying in winter in the snow belt is you really can't see everything you're buying, and that is absolutely correct. Okay, because um, you can't see the driveway, and if there's heaving and walking around it, and you don't really see the yard and things like that, and that is a challenge, and that's something you have to take into account. But you're absolutely right with that. Exactly. And then, good point. And then Clark says, Things typically do slow down in the winter season for us too. Most agents take their vacation during that time. I'm always still around to help people in case they need assistance, but this year I might." All right. Okay, take some time off. Good for you, Clark. I know you you work hard. I know you're a hard worker. So yeah, I don't blame you on that. But we have the same thing too. People will check out and over winter and take some time off and everything. And yeah, that's exactly what happens here too. Um, Now, in terms of closed prices, let's look at new construction versus existing. Okay. Existing is in red. Okay. And prices for for existing was flat year over year. Okay. In Douglas and Sarpy County for the month of September. For new construction, it went up 3.2%. So that is, it's good that prices are leveling off. It's good that interest rates are coming down because that gives people more affordability. Now, are homes affordable? No, but there's always going to be people that are priced out of the market. But as rates come down, then that makes homes more affordable for folks. So, um, and in terms of new construction, prices went up a little bit. Um, Builders have to make money. Um, they're not doing it. If they're not going to make money, they're not going to build a home. So and then the cost of materials goes up, regulations go up. Um, there that it just to get um, a lot to where you can build on it. This was last year. I went to a seminar, and they had a developer there, and it was just about $100,000 to get it to where you can build on that lot. By the time you talk about, grading and, utilities and all that sort of thing. So, hey, son of Joxer is in the house. The only perk of buying in the wintertime is that you get a preview of the quality of the neighborhood street snow removal and how far your car will slide down the hill on ice. And that's a good point. And you bring up an excellent point. It's just like in Omaha, a house that faces south is more desirable versus one that faces north, because that southern facing house is going to get the afternoon sun on that driveway, and it'll melt the snow. If your home faces north, then the house actually shades the driveway. So a lot of folks really like to have a southern facing lot versus one that faces north. And then same thing goes east versus west. You got to, take that everything into account. One that faces west, if the home faces west, then in the summertime, your backyard it's shaded. You're not out there cooking um, in the backyard. So if your home is facing north, then you're in the sun. Now, if you like the sun and you have a pool and all that, that might be a different story. But um, little things, little tips like that. Let's see. MOH had a smiley face and looks for sections of new fencing if you're looking on a hill. Look for new sections of new fencing if you're on a hill. Um, and that's everything else, and the other thing about buying during the wintertime, in the summertime, if you look at the trees, you can tell when a tree is diseased because it'll be green. The surrounding trees will all be green, and then your tree will be all dead with no leaves on it. In the wintertime, you can't tell a diseased tree as easily. Okay. Um, Clark says, geez, okay. Um, we dream of a white Christmas if your house is on the south side of the street. Okay. Um, okay, yeah, I get it there. We from cars. Oh, did my we make sure my mic is on there. From cars sliding off the road and running over your fence. Yes. Okay. Um, and Son of Joxer says, I bought my house in June of 2009, Christmas Day 2009. There was a 5-foot snowdrift in my north facing driveway. Yeah, that's a yeah, that but you know what? Hey, congratulations if you bought in June of 2009 because that was during the great financial crisis and you got that $8,000 tax credit. And but yeah, that's something. I don't know if your agent told you about this facing south, but it can definitely drift and things like that. So yeah, that's um, let's talk about. I'll show you guys here. This is the median closed sales price, and then what we're going to do is break it down by price range. Okay, we're going to go back to the entire market. Okay, this is both new construction and existing. And now we're going to break it down by price points. Okay. And you can see where um, the MLS hasn't quite caught up because back in Omaha, we used to have a market that was $100,000 or less. They kind of need to update the MLS to reflect current prices because now um, in terms of let's look at um, homes for sale. Okay, below 100,000, there's only 12 homes for sale below $100,000. So that market doesn't even exist anymore. Okay, in terms of homes between 100,000 and 200,000, there's 171 homes for sale in that price range. And then you can see where the between 200 and 450, now that's where the bulk of the market is. We have 1,270 homes for sale. And then above 450, we have 961. So you can see that this 450 and above, there's more homes for sale, and there's a lot more homes for sale in this price point. So you can separate it by price point. Okay. And MH08 says, I work with a bunch of Winterfells. They all live in around Seattle. I tell them to come over and shovel my logs after I'm 2 foot down. Okay. And then let's see here. Yeah, the 52-inch flat screen TV I'm watching this stream on was purchased with an $8,000 tax credit. Good for you. Okay. Son of Joxer, just curious, where you're from, if you don't mind sharing where you're from. Just what market are you from? All right. But that's breaking it down by price point. Okay. Um, and then in terms of closed sales, um, and you can see only 19 homes sold below that 99, 100,000 or less. We can just remove that so we don't even look at that market. Um, and then the number of homes between 100 and 200,000, 88. Now, some of this has come because it's gone down But some of that is because the market has moved up. It's very hard to find a home out there below $200,000. And then between 200 and 450, then you're at 622 closed sales, and then the upper price point, um, 211 closed sales. So, okay, all right, get out of here. Okay, and then uh, okay, Midtown Omaha, right across from Creighton Prep School, at the top of a hill. I can get really slick in the wintertime. I I know where you're talking about. Yep. So yeah, right near Western Avenue, in that area, right at Western Avenue and 72nd. Okay, terrific, excellent. Well, congratulations on buying in 2009. You got a lot of equity built up there. And let's see, MH08 says I troll them with this 142 days, 14. You have the best comments, because last week it was like the clock is right twice a day and it's wrong. I forgot how many times it's wrong during the day. So all right, that's awesome. All right. All right, excellent, guys. All right. Days on market. Let's see, where are we at on days on market? Okay. This is the total market. Okay. But if we separate it by new construction and existing, okay, I like to take new construction out of days on market, because here's the thing. Um, that's not reflective, because some of remember, it's a whole different animal. So I'm taking new construction out of there. But the median days on market, okay, that means it's at 8. Okay, that means 50% of the homes sold in 8 days or less, and 50% of the homes sold in 8 days or more. Okay. Okay. MH08 says, yeah, yeah, a broken clock is right twice a day, and it's wrong 1,358 times a day. So yeah, that's that's awesome. All right. um, that's the days on market for existing homes. Okay. And then if we look at the average, okay, um, it actually went down in terms of average. Now, here's the thing about this article here. Let's talk about this right now. And that is, sellers are getting ghosted. 15% of home buying contracts were canceled in September. And this is why I think this is good news. And that is because what you're seeing is a return to a more normal market. Okay. Now, in the article, they talk about 15% being a little bit high, but I think there's two things going on there. Number one, people, as opposed to 4 years ago, when you purchased a home 4 years ago, if order to get under contract, you were not doing an inspection. Okay. Now we're seeing a return to a more normal market. And now what you're seeing are more buyers doing a home inspection. And then what happens, if you're a seller and they do a home inspection, you can guarantee that the buyer is going to ask for some repairs. Okay. And so some sellers are having to go through a little bit of an adjustment, because they talked to their friend who sold 3 years ago, and oh, we had 15 offers and we didn't have to make any repairs. Well, guess what? In this market, you're going to be making repairs. So that's actually good. So the fact that prices are leveling off or just down slightly is good, because that helps affordability. Interest rates coming down, that's a good sign. That's affordability. More homes available, inventory increasing, that's a good sign. Buyers doing home inspections, that's a good sign. Okay. Um, but I think what worries buyers is a fear of paying too much, as opposed to a few years ago there was the fear of missing out. But now buyers are like, I am fearful that I'm paying too much. Okay. And again, different markets are going to behave differently. Okay. Um, but I think now what you're seeing is more homes going under contract. I had put two buyers under contract 2 weeks ago, and guess what? Two deals fell apart over the home inspection. Well, guess what? Those deals fell apart, but that buyer didn't go away. That buyer chose another house out there to put an offer in. So for that one seller, yeah, losing that deal stunk. But guess what? My buyer just went out and purchased another property. So it's not like that buyer has gone away. That buyer just bought a different property. And so that means as a seller, you got to understand that you're in more competition. Okay. It's and there's things that you can do as a seller to kind of help your cause. Okay. One of the things you can do is a pre-listing inspection. And then if you know something is broken, then be proactive and fix it up front. Because here's the thing, you might be able to, you know, fix it, and maybe you can repair it yourself and it's fine. But if your buyer asks for it to be repaired, then your buyer is going to want a licensed contractor and all that sort of thing. But some things you might be able to do yourself, but that's not going to work for that buyer. So if you're aware of something that is wrong, go ahead and take care of it, because it's going to become an issue. And some things like peeling paint, a missing handrail, or a chirping hazard, um, those things are FHA issues. So FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. It's a type of financing, but the appraiser is going to call out those types of issues, and you'll have to repair those. So we're getting into fall, and so if you're aware of there's peeling paint, then go ahead and take care of that peeling paint now before it gets too cold and you can't paint it. Otherwise, they'll mark it, and then it'll have to be escrowed in the spring, and it's kind of a big hassle doing that sort of thing. But if you're looking to put your home on the market in the spring or later on this winter, take care of that peeling paint now. Now, when you're talking about peeling paint or something like that, that doesn't mean you have to paint the entire house. It means that little part that's peeling, you got to scrape and prime and paint that and match the paint up. It doesn't mean you have to paint the entire house. So some people think, well, oh my gosh, I got to paint my entire house. Not necessarily. Okay. Um, but also you want to look at things to where, you know, when that buyer approaches that house, okay, and that agent is messing with the lockbox to get the key open, that buyer is scrutinizing the front of the house. So if there's a little things that kind of stick out that need to be taken care of, or peeling paint or something like that, or even the lock itself, okay, if it's tricky to get in the house, have that lock repaired, okay? But when there's something in the house that is blatant, that buyer sees that as an issue, and then they start wondering, well, what else is wrong if um, this is wrong? Okay, so um, and Clark says, yes, buyers are not just purchasing anything no more. Yes, 2020 and 21 during the pandemic market, that was so crazy. Interest rates were so low, okay, that it was just we had such affordability that people had so much buying power, and then we had a compound problem. We had super low interest rates and low inventory. Okay, so we had high demand because low interest rates gives buyers more buying power. Okay, and then so we had high demand and we had ultra low inventory. So what did that do to price? Real estate markets are like any other market. It's supply and demand. So we had high demand, low surprise, prices shot up. Okay. Um, let's see. Um, MH08 says, "You mean like the hole in my ceiling with a piece of insulation stuffed into it?" Yeah. Yeah, speaking of which, I might have told you on the last stream, I got a little bit of a, I was, we had a deal fall apart over bats. So yeah, so when I think of insulation and attic, I have a little bit of PTSD over the bat situation, which bats are very expensive. So the last thing you want are bats in the attic. So that's very expensive. All right, but I think this sellers um, contracts falling apart are actually a good sign because it says that number one, buyers have choices. Buyers can do an inspection. During the pandemic, you would have a buyer, and the buyer would say, you know what, I'm not buying a home unless I can do a home inspection, which I completely support. But what would happen, and this would be the course of working with a buyer during the pandemic, is you would take that buyer out right away. You'd pounce on that first home and you'd write a contract. They would get 10 offers and you wanted to do an inspection. And guess what? You didn't get the house. That would happen again. Contract number two, they made another offer on another house. They asked for an inspection. Guess what happened? Well, they received 10 offers and your offer came in ninth and they wanted to do an inspection. Then what would happen is they would remove the home inspection and they might get a little bit better position. But then what would happen is you would have people paying cash, bidding 15, 20, 30, $40,000 over the list price. Okay. They were willing to overpay for the property. Okay. And then they were also willing to cover the appraisal gap. So if it didn't appraise, the buyer would say, I don't care. Um, I'll still buy the home and I'll cover the difference between the appraised price and the purchase price. And I'll bring that extra amount of money to cash and cash at closing. So you had um, buyers weren't getting their first choice during the pandemic. They were just, some buyers were just like, well, I got a home and they were grateful they got it. And then there was a lot of buyer's remorse. Okay. During the pandemic market, because some of these buyers would, guess what? Buy an older home. The home had issues. They overpaid for it. They didn't do any inspections. Okay. Then they had things like sewer backups or some major issues because the sellers could dictate that. And the buyer was stuck just rolling the dice and buying the home. So there was a lot of buyers. That wasn't even though rates were low, that wasn't an ideal market to buy a home in. When you can't do your due diligence and when you're, you know, bidding up the property, that wasn't an ideal market. Everybody loved that low interest rate. Okay. But that wasn't the ideal time to buy a home. Okay. Nowadays, what's nice now is it's a normal market. Buyers can do inspections. Okay. They're asking for repairs. And if that deal falls apart, guess what? There's more inventory to where they can go buy another one. So it's actually, yeah, rates are a little bit higher, prices are a little higher, or a little higher, a lot higher. But at least now you're able to do inspections and you have more inventory to choose from. So there's never going to be an ideal time to buy a home. Okay, when should you buy a home? You should buy a home when you can afford to do so. And you want to buy a home that you can afford and that you budget enough money for repairs. Okay. Um, let's see. Son of Joxer says rates were low, but inventory was so tight that buyers actually had fewer choices. Exactly. Exactly. There, we had a vast, we had plenty of closed sales, but at any given time, there were very few homes on the market, okay? Because you would list something on a Thursday, and then on Sunday, you were reviewing 10 offers. So you're absolutely right, son of Joxer. Um, the buyers actually did have fewer choices. Yeah. And so it wasn't and that's why you're going to have more buyer's remorse. And you're going through seven different offers where you didn't get the home. And then on the eighth time you wrote an offer, you said, well, I'm going all in. I'll bid 10,000 above list price. I'll do no inspections. And then you're stuck you weren't getting your first choice. So nowadays buyers are getting more, having more choices. Okay. Now, if you're a seller, okay, in this kind of a market, in terms of pricing, okay, number one, the best time to get the most amount of money is when the home is first listed on the market. That's when it's exposed to the um, when it's new to the market. Okay, a lot of sellers will lay like, well, if I don't get my price, we can always come down. Okay, but what happens is when a buyer sees a home that's sitting on the market, then they start to think, well, what's wrong with it? Okay, and then as a buyer, so number one, as a seller, you want to price it right from the start, and then the other thing you want to do as a seller is you want to price on a major break point. Okay, so let's say you have a home that's worth around $400,000. You want to price it right on the nose at $400,000. You don't price it at 405 or 399 because you want buyers that are looking between 300 and 400, and you want buyers that are looking between 400 and 500. If you price it right on the nose at 400,000, you're going to expose the home to both sets of buyers. Okay. And then if you do have to do a price reduction, if you miss the market and you have to reduce the price, don't do little price adjustments. Make it substantial because you want to regenerate interest into the marketplace. Don't take it down $1,000 or $2,000. You want to make it substantial in order to generate excitement back into the marketplace. So if you do overprice it, then uh, price it right from the start. And then the other thing too, if you're a buyer, okay, a lot of buyers think, well, hey, I can learn the market by looking at open houses. Okay. And I'm going to push back on that. And that is, you can get a kind of a taste of the market at looking at open houses. But what you really want to do is you want to look at homes that hit the market immediately. And as a buyer, you got to look at a number of homes in order to establish. Let's say you're looking at a 200,000, or let's say you're in the $200,000 price point. Okay, you got to look at a number of homes at that $200,000 price point. You got to establish a baseline to figure out, okay, hey, this thing is priced right and this one is not. I don't care if it's 200,000 or whatever price point it is, 300,000. You got to look at homes that freshly hit the market at $300,000 and not just look at open houses, because here's the thing, with open houses don't sell homes. Okay. Open houses are done for two reasons. Okay. Number one, the agent is there to generate buyer leads, to generate buyer business, because a buyer will walk into an open house. They're not going to buy that home. They're just testing the market, but they're just looking, kind of just looking, but they will buy a home, but they just won't buy that home. And the other reason why people do open houses to placate sellers. Sellers are frustrated because their home isn't selling and they want an open house. So if you're just looking at open houses, I would advise you not to do that, because you want to look at, because a really good home will never make it to an open house. So that's why you got to um, team up with an agent and look at um, homes that freshly hit the market. And then the other thing too is if you're above 300,000 or above 325, if you're in that price point, you also got to consider new construction. A lot of times a buyer will not think, well, hey, I can't buy new construction. If you're in Omaha, Nebraska, if you're above three and a quarter, you bet you can buy new construction. In fact, I put a contract together this week with a YouTube client, and they were able to get a new construction home in North Omaha for $245,000. A really neat little 3 bedroom, 2 bath, brand new construction with a 1 car garage. Um, Brand spanking new, and it's an adorable looking home, and um, you know, brand new sewer line, brand new roof, brand new furnace, passive radon mitigation system, a ranch for 245. So that's why it's good to team up with an agent. Uh, but if you're a buyer, don't just look at open houses. Look at the entire market when it hits fresh on the market. So hopefully that helps you out. All right. Um, but yeah, son of Joxer, you're absolutely right with the market like that. So, couple of things. Speaking of, I want to um, let's see here. I'm going to share this with you. I have if you are a homeowner, I need to do this more often, and that is, if you want to know the value of your home, I have a tool called HomeBot. Okay, and it is free, and all you got to do is put your address in there, and it will um, give you a monthly valuation of your home. So it's kind of fun um, to track that, and there's free and there's no obligation. And then what I will do is I will post a link in the chat. Um, so in the chat you can um, sign up for HomeBot. Again, there's no obligation. And then the other thing I got that's kind of fun is I have um, doing a new website, okay, and then I'm having a newsletter, okay, and you can go to livinginomaha.com, all right, and sign up for my monthly newsletter, okay, and kind of share that with you. This is what it looks like. There's my happy mug right there, but you'll get this once a month. Keep if you're coming into Omaha, if you're relocating to Omaha, um, it has a couple videos in there, and then it has a listing or two that I feature. So you can register for that on my website. Check it out and then give me some feedback on the website. And then if you're relocating to Omaha, this is, uh, I'll share a link to this. If you're not from our area, I have a relocation guide now. So um, let's see, we'll take that banner down. But I'll put a link to this in the chat. Okay. It's my relocation guide. Let's see, I'll put that. And then South Loop River Home said, "Wow, I didn't know there were new construction 1 car only." There is. It's a company coming in building affordable homes for folks. It has to be owner occupant. Investors can't buy these things. Okay, so there are some stipulations with it. But if you're a homeowner, this is an excellent opportunity. Okay, um, and But if you're relocating and you want a copy of my relocation guide, check that out. I'll put that link in the chat there. Okay. Um, and then let's see here. Go back to all right, we'll go back to the MLS. And then yeah, that's we can go to the we can go to the MLS and hit we'll do a little search here, South Loop River, just for fun. We'll go residential and we'll go status. Um, active, we'll go active. Okay. And then we'll go down to where it says new construction. We'll say complete and under construction. All right. And then we will say, we'll put a maximum price of 250 and single family home. And there's 5 that pop up that are under 250. Okay. And this is what they look like. They're, we'll take a peek here. Really cute little places. Oh, actually, this one here, this is 210. And I looked at this one, a beautiful home. This was listed by Nebraska Realty, and it's a split entry for 210. Now you got to qualify financially for it. You can't make too much money for this, and there's no investors. But it's a really a cute little place, a 2-car garage. The basement is unfinished, but it's a beautiful little home. LVP flooring, nice, got the appliances going in it, the whole shooting match. So that's a great opportunity for someone, and that's at 210. So there's opportunity out there. And then I'll show you. There's another one. That one's. Let's see here. Here's what we're talking about. 2403 John A. Creighton Boulevard. This one is listed by. Get it to the folks that have it listed by. I think it's Better Homes and Gardens, but brand new construction, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, a 1-car attached garage, little cute place and that's beautiful. I mean, finished basement, little patio back in the backyard there. Really a cute little place. And 3-bedroom, 2-bath. This one is 245. So anyway, there's opportunity out there. So, which is kind of neat that they're building affordable homes for folks. But again, no investors. You can't be an investor. Investors would be all over that. But anyway, just opportunities are out there. So let's see here. And then airport noise in North Omaha. Epley Airfield there is in North Omaha, but this one didn't have as much. The air traffic it's further north, coming in off the river on that. Let me see if I can pull up a map of Omaha here. Kind of show you guys this here. Not as much as you would think. They're MH08. I don't know why that's. Let's see. But yeah, that's not so bad there in terms of that as that. Clark says, nice looking website. Thank you, Clark. I appreciate that. You do understand, I think it's a shocking bad thing. I'm not sure I understand. I'm not sure if I understand why would be a bad thing to have a 1-car garage. I mean, I would love to have a 2-car garage too, but yeah, that I mean, I'm not sure I understand that. I'm sorry. Let's see. You've got 24 counter assessment price. Well, good. Son of Joxer, I'm glad that's the case. Now, here's the thing too. Assessed value and market value are 2 different things. Market value is what the home would bring on the open market. And here's the other thing too with HomeBot. HomeBot is not perfect. HomeBot hasn't been inside of your home. Um, so it's an algorithm. It's a um, it it takes data and gives it a kind of like it's like it's kind of like a Zestimate, okay, but you know, but it's kind of like a monthly. But you can go in there. What's nice about HomeBot is you can go in there and say what you paid for it and make adjustments to your home, as far as condition and things in order to kind of tweak the value a little bit. But um, okay, and then I have been on that flight path. Yeah, I mean, there are parts. Don't get me wrong. There's parts. I'm in Southwest Omaha, and I'm kind of more of on the flight path of off it. They're pretty high up, but it's I kind of like airplanes, so I don't really mind being on a flight path. But same thing goes with Bellevue. There's going to be, um, but that's freedom flying overhead, so there's nothing wrong with that. So, all right, all right. Well, any other questions or anything other tonight? You know, any other questions or anything tonight? I appreciate everybody's time tonight. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Clark, thank you very much. And appreciate everybody stopping by. We'll have another stream next week and we'll take it from there. Oh, we got one more. Um, okay. Seems to be going in the wrong direction from a 2 back to a 1. Okay. Are you talking about that split entry that was a 2-car garage going back to the 1-car garage? Um, Now on that split entry that we looked at on for 210, that the lower level wasn't finished on that one. Okay. And so it had a 2-car garage, you know, three bedrooms on the main level. On that little ranch, it was a bedroom on the main level, 2 were in the lower level. So I see what you're saying as far as that goes. Okay. So um, all right, cool. Okay. Um, good show tonight, David. Have a wonderful night. Thank you very much, Clark, and everybody check out Clark's uh website or YouTube channel. Let me see here. Let me pull that up. Let me hear. Give Clark a little shout out. Clark, I love that avatar. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, love you. Okay, here's the Clark is live. Oh, it helps if I share it. Okay, wait, let me bring it up here. There we go. Okay, there's my moderator, Clark. He's got a channel, great information, great show. It's fun. It's fun to tune into his show on Sunday nights. So it's 7 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Central. So give Clark a shout out on that and give him a sub. So, hey, you're 1,100 subs, Clark. That's awesome. So, anyway, everybody, appreciate everybody stopping by tonight. And hope everybody has a great week. And we'll see you next week. Bye bye.